Y'all, it has been a weekend. It has been a crazy long weekend. We had our church convention held up here, and there's so much going on behind the scenes that I did not monitor the sugar intake that my kids were getting as much as I should have, and we're detoxing, and it is not pretty. It is not pretty at all. So, first of all, I have actually, because the homeschool season is coming back, people I think are kind of searching, and especially there's been a large influx in my watch time for my homeschool videos, and I've had a couple requests. Actually, I've gone beyond a couple. I've had a few requests for more Charlotte Mason videos, and you know, I don't come here as an expert. I'm not coming here as Sonia Schaefer, who has done this and can give you the expert advice. What I'm doing is sharing that journey of the behind the scenes stuff that we can read the book of what it's going to, you know, how this will look like once things are completed, and how to get there. It's not gonna look like that. My vision, if you will, in sharing these Charlotte Mason ideas and videos is that I kept seeing, and I would do this too, so I'm definitely in here as well, but I would keep seeing parents just struggle and wonder if Charlotte Mason was for them because they couldn't tick every box. They couldn't do all the nature studies. They couldn't do all the picture studies. They couldn't do all the hymn studies. They couldn't do all the folk songs. They couldn't do all of these things. It was almost this discouragement of, well, maybe we need to find a different method or whatever. And I kept thinking, surely you can follow a Charlotte Mason method idea without, you know, walking away from everything, or meeting everything is maybe what I should say. And so we still continue on in our school, and I think we have this idea of this picture perfect presentation of it, and I wanted to show a more realistic view and how we made it work with our children, with life, without having that extra help that many of us don't have. So I was like, okay, I'll sit down and I'll try to film something to kind of share more of those behind the scenes that nobody sees. And it was interesting because I actually had gotten a message from somebody that said, hey, go to Facebook and look at this. Anyway, I picked up the phone to go to Facebook, and you know, when you open it up, you see things. So before I even had a chance to go and look at this thing that I went on Facebook to show, maybe some of you on here know Melanie from AKA Mommy. I am friends with her on Facebook, and she had shared this thing that I thought, oh my goodness, if this doesn't kind of fit. Melanie had shared this thing, and I just was like, oh my goodness, this is the perfect kind of prelude to the video. She posted this picture that just said, if you quit now, you'll end up right back where you began. And when you first began, you were desperate to be where you are right now. Keep going. Let's kind of talk about those behind the scenes that y'all don't see. I don't know how much of this I'll cut out, because y'all, okay. So we decided to start homeschool a little bit early last year, and I did a video on this not too long ago, and someone actually pointed out that my struggles actually began a little bit sooner because of all the stuff going on. But back a year ago this month, we decided to start homeschool a little bit early because we had wanted to kind of get ahead going, especially with the upcoming move that we were going to do. And so July, the first week in July, we began. And then July 4th, we had an earthquake that kind of rocked our world, pun intended. And then the next day we had one that just changed our lives, basically. I think I can say that as a most definite way to word it. It changed our lives. And in that whole month, we went from normal family life to now we were all sleeping in the living room, just kind of on the ground, on edge. Every time we would get an aftershock, we would just jump and do anything, and it was not the right environment to homeschool at all. We were on edge, we had lack of sleep, and all of that. And then as life kind of picked up and got a little bit better, then the house sold, and we had to do all of that. And then bless you. And then we had all of the moving and things like that to get rid of, and basically our house sold, so there was actually still stuff that needed to be done. We had to clean it all out. We had to kind of get it all fixed up. There's even talk of moving back into the small house at one point, just to try to save some money. We weren't sure where this was going. And we did end up selling that house, and shortly after, we're kind of planning to come out to Indiana, get our house, get the purchase things going as we go back, pack everything up and move out. And I got pneumonia. And I was out at least 6 weeks, just of no energy, barely plugging along. And then we moved out here. And then we were homeless for a whole month, and I was thinking, oh, we'll just, it's not like we're going to have anything to do all day. Let's just do some school. Well, that didn't go well, even keeping things very simple. So, long story short, a little bit too late. You can go back to that one video that I made that kind of just explains all the difficulties we had. And so we started homeschool. Officially, we had tried to start it in June. And I think I got 1 week of just trying to get back into that routine. And then the next week I had siblings in town. And yeah, that didn't go well. And then the week after that was kind of like this rest week. We were just exhausted. And then now we're on our 4th week, and we had this convention here at our church. So there was a lot of cooking to do. There was a lot of cleaning to do. There was a lot of prep work to do. And then we found out that one of my husband's families is actually staying an extended period of time. So are we going to be able to do school this week? Probably not. So in all of that, well, what does your Charlotte Mason homeschool look like? Well, this is kind of like those adaptable things of life. We try to make time for the things that are important to us. Things like your Bible reading, your working together, your house cleaning, your cooking. And also during this time, the boys took up a business. They ended up creating a Facebook page to sell paracord bracelets. But they made it in such a way that they could add other things to their business. I'm trying to remember all the little things that we've done. Many nature walks. We've gone hiking on several occasions. We've not been doing so many read alouds, but there is always audiobooks going on. My daughter is almost finished with the complete Anne of Green Gables series. Your little things that maybe doesn't get ticked off, maybe in so much as nature study, or not, I'm sorry, hymn study, things like that. Maybe they don't get all done, but we're living life, and we're trying to do it in such a way that our education is within our atmosphere. The discipline thing needs to work a little bit, but it is our life. And like I said, there isn't a routine I can sit down and point out many things to you and say, okay, at 9 o'clock we're doing this, and at 9:30 we're doing this, and 10 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays we're doing this, and at 10 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays we're doing this, and once a week we do this. Like, I can't hand that, show that to you. I can't tell you how many times I've sat down to try to plan, and there's just interruptions, there's just life happening, and I can't get it done. And especially, it seems lately that the interruptions have been even more so. This one, we're doing habit training, and I would say that's kind of our focus right now. But there's nothing I can hold up and say, okay, so in order to have a Charlotte Mason education, you need to complete this and this and this. I can't. I've made that clear. I'm just going to keep regurgitating that, because sometimes you just need to hear it over and over again. You need to have that soap, lather, rinse, repeat message that your life isn't going to look the same as everybody else's. Some people are very disciplined in that and very structured and can make that work. And I'm learning. I haven't learned. My attitude shows that, but I'm learning that I need to be more adaptable to our way of life, choosing what is best. I was thinking about that the other night. I need to just choose the best right now. There would be wonderful to have all the things, but I need to choose what is best. And what is best right now for us is just focusing on our relationships with one another. Lack of sleep means lack of grace with one another, and we've definitely had that. I know for some people, food just isn't an issue for them, but it really is for our family. And the more wheat we've had and the more sugar we've had, the more we just aren't a very nice family. We're miserable in our own ways, and it just comes out in different ways, and we're just trying to work on that. Like, no matter how you feel, you need to do what is right. And that's a hard lesson to learn, myself included. So our school is pretty much kind of centered around that. It's centered around just learning to be kind to one another, and maybe that's the season that we need to be in. I did want to point out something with kind of folk song studies. They are a lost art, I would say, and some of them are really enjoyable. But I have never sat down and done a folk music study with them. I haven't. But it was interesting. This past month, I told my one daughter to listen as I was singing My Darling Clementine. And I said, see if you can figure out what the story's about. And, there were some words we talked about what they meant. And she's like, wait a minute, she died? I'm like, yeah, the whole story, the whole song was about Clementine dying and her dad, singing about that. And she's like, well, how did you know it's the dad? And so I'll sing the verse again. I'm like, listen, tell me how you know that it's a dad. Tell me how you know that she was wearing open-toed shoes. Tell me how you know how she died, and certain things. And we kind of went over that. And you know what? Now it's one of the kids' favorite songs. They ask me to sing that every night. This is from a mom that has another daughter that loves Matchstick Girl by Hans Christian Andersen. And if none of you know what that story is, it's about a little girl that has a box of matches and is trying to stay warm with her little box of matches. And she's found the next day frozen. So I tend to like the tragic stories here, apparently. But, my point being, we didn't sit down and say, okay, children, it's Tuesday, let's open up our folk song today. We're going to learn about this one. No, we just did that, and it actually brought up, I showed them Mitch Miller and his gang, which is who I grew up with learning about this, and they had Red River Valley under that. So I said, oh, this is another one that I grew up with, and we listened to Red River Valley, and I think the boys kind of resonated a little bit more with that one. But, the folk song study wasn't, again, repeating myself, but it wasn't a thing that we sat down and did as a family. It was just kind of on those trips back and forth, just a little cuddle time here and there, and we did that. It was very unstructured. It was very just the life lessons kind of thing. So keep that in mind. The children often hear me sing hymns. I'm a terrible singer. I'm not very good at carrying a note at all. But I'll sing hymns. I'll be washing dishes, folding laundry, and I'll sing hymns. And you repeat that long enough, and the little ones who aren't as worried about how they sound will join you, and the older ones they'll pick up and they'll listen, and maybe once in a while you'll pass by a bedroom door and you'll hear them hymn singing, and the opportunities will come up, be like, hey, did you know that that song you're singing, It Is Well With My Soul, a father wrote that when his wife and son were drowned, or wife and daughter, I don't remember which one, but and it opened that door. It opened it up for conversation. Mighty Fortress is Our God. It was a battle hymn for the Reformation. All these moments that you have just to have your conversation. And the thing is that if you are knowledgeable in that, then you'll be able to kind of share those with them. And if you're not, there are opportunities to take and say, oh, you know what? This would be interesting to know. Let's go look this up. So that's very interesting, or a very natural way, I would say, of implementing Charlotte Mason. And Charlotte Mason and her ideas were really about educating the whole child and seeing what this child would need as he grows. Like, she wasn't looking at just a 6-year-old. She was looking at that 6-year-old growing and maturing into a 26-year-old. And that's kind of what we need to think about. But I think why I like Charlotte Mason is that while she looked ahead to that 26-year-old, she realized that many of these began in their not just began in their childhood with the habits and structures and things, but also that children have this sense in them to want to be mature, be adult-like, for lack of opinion. They're copying us constantly. And she took that and she's like, okay, let's give them something worthwhile to copy. And it wasn't just that, even. Like, I think that's why I love Charlotte Mason. There were so many layers to her. She was also like, they're children. Let them be children. And I've mentioned this. Let them be children. Hopefully I can continue that thought, but you needed to let them be children. That's where it was. They have certain capacities that they can handle, and we don't want to kill that love of learning in trying to mold our children into what we want them to be, but to bring out of them what God has created them to be. And I've had this conversation with somebody, and I did want to address this. She was a Christian, and she was influenced by Christian ideas. Ooh, I like that shirt with that skirt. That works well with that. Yeah. She had Christian beliefs and ideas, and it wasn't that they're perfect little children. They're perfect little sinners is what they are, like all of us. So it's not that we're looking at a perfectly wholesome child that is being ruined by our influence and ideas. They're born in sin. So just wanted to address that. It was like, oh no, they're not. That's not the teaching, that we have perfect little children that we treat as such. Hence the habit training. So I don't know. I hope, again, another kind of look behind the scenes of what Charlotte Mason is like, and putting it into perspective of family life. We don't have a death in the family that we're trying to adjust to. We don't have a mother or a parent coming to live with us that we have to work around and make adjustments to. We don't have a child that's in therapy that we have to make adjustments to. And the beauty behind Charlotte Mason is all those things that I addressed already. The educating the wholehearted child, and that's going to be on a child by child basis. and giving them the Feast of Ideas so that they kind of learn where God has wanted them to what God has wanted them to pursue in life, I guess is what I should say. You know, a child that may be a great composer or very talented at an instrument may not know that if he hasn't been exposed to that, or a singer or whatever it is. So giving those Feast of Ideas kind of blossom that up. And it's amazing to me that how many things later on in life, having a wide variety of education has really opened conversations with people and presented even further ideas in our adult life and the things that we move forward with and grow on. So anyway, hope this video is what you're looking for out there. Again, I'm not coming to you as an expert of this is what we need to do. This is how you need to implement daily life and structure your life and so on and so forth. I'm saying, look, here's a mom with 5 kids struggling to figure life out, and this is kind of where we are right now. And, you know, you're not alone. You're not alone out there. And sometimes I think being so deep in our struggles, we lose sight of the fact that, no, we're not alone. We don't have handmaidens at our fingertips to help us. We can't even afford help a lot of times. And even further struggles, we can't afford all of the box curriculum. So how do you make it work without box curriculum? So that's kind of, you know, the purpose of this. Like I said, just putting on Oh My Darling Clementine from YouTube. Thank you, Mitch Miller and his gang. Opened that all up, and it actually even sparked, you know, my husband was asking, where did that song even come from? So I went to reliable Wikipedia, and it was actually made popular, well, in the 49ers, but it was actually made popular by the Mexican gold miners, which I thought was really interesting. Like, it would make sense that there would be many Hispanic gold miners, but I never made the connection of putting them in, you know, the gold rush. I just keep thinking of all these people coming, but California would have been heavily occupied by the Hispanics. So yeah, why don't we hear more about the Hispanic 49ers or what they did during this time? So, which I think actually Bandits, Moon, and even my husband brought up Zorro. That kind of showed a lot of what they were doing then. But anyway, so I'm just going to leave this here. It's been a long enough video, and I'll see you next time.